back to Farming Simulator, and today we are going to be having a look at the Grain Dryer Pack by Caltech. You may have used a version of this mod in FS25. We're going to have a look at what's included in the mod pack, and then more importantly, if you're watching one of my videos, we're going to do an analysis of the finances of the mod, see if it is worth you investing in a grain dryer. And spoiler alert, it's a Caltech mod, so probably it is worth doing. So let's first have a look at what's included with the mod, because it has grown a little bit since the previous version. So we will head into the construction menu under factories. First off, we have 3 versions this time. They are all somewhat similar. So from a production lines point of view, let's say, so we've got the small shed. I really like this one. So we'll throw one of these in just here. I could see me using this a fair bit. So this one takes in the 4 crops that you can dry, so wheat, barley, oats and corn. It uses wood or logs, and I'll talk about the maybe challenge you might be thinking about, how you're going to get logs to run this in a little while. So this is one of the new ones. It's only £5,000, so bit of a bargain. We've then got the grain drying shed. You will probably recognize this one from FS25 if you used it before. Let's stick this one up this end of the field. So this one will run on methane, straw or wood chips. And again, I'll talk about the finances of that. And then we've got the grain drying silo, which is a big old beastie. And I've got to admit, I haven't checked if the solar panels are going to generate us any income. It's not showing it here. I will go and check that in the XML before we talk about the financial side of things. So as I said, from a production lines point of view, these all behave the same. What's different is their capacity. So if we go have a quick look at them, they're kind of, I think this one is kind of cool. Do like this one. I'm not sure if this is a straight rip of a base game model or not, but it looks kind of nice. And then we've got this guy, and yeah, kind of cool looking. Can we open the doors? Can we open the doors? There we go. There was a switch. There we go. Yeah. Okay. Light switch there. And then the production menu there. Got to admit, I haven't explored the triggers particularly for these models. I am mostly interested in the financial side of things. I'm sure if you have watched some of the other modders explore these mods, they've given you some nice in-depth reviews of some of the other factors. And then if we go down all the way down to the far end of the field, we've got the model that we know and love from FS25. So this is where you tip your fuel in. This is where you tip your crops in. And if you want to, you can come down here and you can hide all of the junk that's in the back of the grain drying shed. Kind of like that one. Nice addition. That was a suggestion that someone made. I can't remember who it was that made it in the community to be able to tidy up the shed. So yeah, if we go into the productions, there are a few more items. So if we go into the construction menu and we come up, actually no, let's stick with this one, and we go to sell points. There is a sell point included. So you can sell your dried grain. and then under containers up here, so you can fuel the ones that run on methane. There is a methane buy point. So we'll drop that just here. And then obviously you need to get your methane from where you buy it from to the grain dryers. So there are 2 tanks that you can use to transport your methane. The methane buy point lets you buy methane at a very good price. Obviously, you could generate methane through a BGA if that BGA allows you to unload it, or assuming that the distribution system is working properly with productions, for example, from the mini BGA, you could set it to distribute and use that to distribute it to your grain drying shed, essentially getting free methane. So that would be an option as well, or you could just buy it from there using one of the included trailers. Right, let's head into the productions menu. So we'll start from the smallest shed dryer. So this has got a 50,000 litre capacity for all of the components and the outputs. And then the cycle is 1,000 litres of input, 100 litres of wood gets you 1,000 litres of outputs, and it just runs crazily fast. You don't really need to worry about the speed, and you can run all of the cycles at once. This thing is going to process 2.4 million litres of crop in a month, so you just do not need to worry about how they will all process 2.4 million litres of each crop a month, so you don't need to worry about how fast they run and how much you can process in a month. They will basically process, I'm going to say, pretty much however much you can harvest, unless you're running some kind of insane farm. So the speed that it runs at is not something you need to worry about, or the cost of running the production. Really, it's only going to cost you £120 a month. So the small one needs wood, so you need trees or logs to run it. But yeah, 1,000 litres of crop, 100 litres of wood gives you 1,000 litres of dry crop. We then go to the grain drying shed, and the grain drying shed and the grain drying silo have the same cycles. The difference, the shed holds 500,000 litres of input and output. The silo holds 800,000 litres of input and output. And then the cycles again are, so we've got 3 different types of cycle. Other than that, they are the same. So the wheat, barley, oats and corn recipes are the same. It's just the input crop changes and obviously the output crop changes. So for wood chips, it's 1,000 litres of input crop, 50 litres of wood chips gives you 1,000 litres of dry crop. For the methane, it's 1,000 litres of input crop, 50 litres of methane gives you 1,000 litres of dried crop. And then for the straw, it's 1,000 litres of input crop, 100 litres of straw gives you 1,000 litres of output crop. And again, this thing runs super fast, so it's going to process 2.4 million litres of crop. And if you really needed to, you could run all 3 cycles of each crop. So you can just process insane amounts of stuff with these things. And really, if, you know, unless you're, I guess, depends on the fuel you want to put in. This thing is an utter bargain. 50,000 litres of crop, but you do need to put wood into it. Now, you're going to say, but I don't want to grow trees. I don't want to have a forest. As long as you don't mind doing a little bit of work, you can get wood for free. Now, please be kind, game. Deadwood contracts. So, deadwood contracts. In this area, there is a problem with deadwood. Help the owner and cut down all the dead trees. Each tree is already marked. You can sell them afterwards, or you can take them back to your grain dryer and put them in your grain dryer. And each dead tree will give you about 1,600 litres, which is enough to process 16,000 litres of crop. So that single contract will give you 5 times that, so 5,000, 8,000, so enough to process 80,000 litres of crop for free, essentially. In fact, they'll pay you £500 because you could just lease the tree harvester. You do need to obviously bring the trees back to, or the logs back to your farm, which is a little bit of work, but then you have no fuel costs. So a little bit of a trick there if you want to get free logs to run that grain dryer. It does work. I've tested it. It's fine. So yeah, a little bit of a bonus there. There are other Easter eggs with this mod pack if you want some very easy ways to make money, which I will let you experiment with yourself. And we will go off now and have a look at the best bit of Farming Simulator videos, PowerPoint. So this is why you're here, really, isn't it? This is why you're watching my version of a mod review for PowerPoint and for the numbers. So what I've done is I've gone through, I've got details for the small one, and then I've combined the large version and the silo because they're the same. And this is a lot of numbers, I know. I've tried to present the numbers for the 3 levels of difficulty because the profitability changes, but I've also just got the straight multiplier and the percentage increase because that might be what you're interested in. And I've done this per cycle or per 1,000 litres of crop because really, as I said, this thing can process so much that it's not really worth thinking about it on a per month basis because it's just going to eat all the crop that you put into it. So looking at the small one first, and I have assumed that you are paying or you're losing the value of the logs that you would put in. And I've just had to assume that this is the straight quoted value for wood in the filltypes.xml because the value of wood varies so much. So this might be exaggerating the cost of the wood, and actually you could not pay for wood, as I've said. So this could be even better for the small one. This could be even more profitable. And so what we're looking at, as I said, is 1,000 litres of the different crops. For the small one, 100 litres of wood, and you get out 1,000 litres of the respective crop. It runs 100 cycles an hour, so you're processing 100,000 litres of crop per hour, potentially, if you've got that much. So you're basically just going to bullet through it. And then these profit per cycle numbers are the additional amount of cash you're going to make versus just selling the crop and I guess the fuel, because it's what this number is the value of the dry crop minus the value of the fuel and selling the wet, in inverted commas, crop. And then I've calculated those for hard, normal and easy difficulty based on the best value for the wet and dried crop. And as you can see, these are all pretty profitable. You're looking at making quite a bit more money, either looking at it per 1,000 litres or as a multiplier or percentage increase. Oats are about the worst, and barley is about the best. And that's, it is what it is. The numbers are pretty good. You're looking at barley, a 2.3-ish multiplier, or a 136% increase in the amount of money you're going to make. For oats, you're looking at about a 40% increase in the amount of money you're going to make. As I said, that will get better if you don't pay for the logs with this dryer, and I would recommend that you don't, because it's the same amount unless you're doing a lot of forestry anyway. And realistically, if you're using this small dryer and you're on a small scale farm, you're probably not. So getting the fuel for free is going to improve this because the logs are somewhat expensive. So yeah, that will improve. And then as we go to the large silo, weirdly, and so the wood chips are the most expensive. It's actually worked out that these are in order of profitability. Strangely, I don't think that was intended, but I think anyway. I'm just double checking. It's kind of a hard table to read, but basically, the straw is the most profitable. Yeah, it is pretty much in order of profitability in terms of fuel. So the wood chips are the least profitable fuel to use. The methane is the next, and the straw is the most profitable fuel. It's basically because straw is the cheapest fuel. And you're only using 100 litres of straw to process it. And probably, if you're harvesting, particularly if you're harvesting wheat, barley, or oats, sacrificing 100 litres of straw for 1,000 litres of crop is pretty insignificant, given that you're going to be getting 5 times the amount of crop that you harvest in straw anyway. I think it's 5 or 4 point something. So you're going to get a lot of straw anyway. So sacrificing a small percentage of that to dry the grain is a pretty good deal. And yeah, you're looking at typically better returns for the bigger dryer because, as I said, the wood is more expensive as a fuel. If you're getting the wood for free, then you're looking at more like probably straw-like returns because the straw is very cheap. So if you wanted to get an idea of what the returns would look like for running the small dryer with free wood, it's more like the straw in terms of percentage increases and stuff. Yeah, and so I typically play on normal difficulty. So I would be looking at, if I was to sell 1,000 litres of wheat, making an extra nearly £900 per 1,000 litres, which is crazy. But I realized what I didn't do is show you the prices of these crops. So we'll go back into the game before we finish, and we'll look at how much these dry crops are worth. It's an awful lot. It's an awful lot. So yeah, and basically, yeah, you're looking at more than doubling your money or things like that. And then in terms of return on investment, so the small grain dry, and this is litres to breaking even. So how many litres of crop do you need to dry to break even on your investment? So the small grain dryer only costs £5,000. And then on the different difficulty levels, for the small one, it's tiny amounts. Normal difficulty, you're looking at between 5 and 10,000 litres, and you've recovered your cost, and then you're into profit. For the silo, which is the bottom half of the left-hand table, where you're spending £90,000, you can see the numbers vary between, on normal difficulty, between 80,000 litres and 140,000 litres. And then for the shed, which is the bottom half of the right-hand table, where it only costs £40,000, we're looking at between 35 and 60,000 on normal difficulty. Obviously less on easy, more on hard mode. So pretty easy to make a return on this. I'll just load the game back up. We'll quickly look at those dry crop prices because I realized I forgot, and we'll call it a video. Okay, the bit that I forgot to show you before we went to the exciting part that is PowerPoint is, what are these crops worth? So you need to scroll down to the second block of information. So dry barley, you will notice that it's added to one of the map sell points already, Goldcrest Valley. But you will get a better price for the grain dryer sell point. It has boosted prices, so we'll have a look at that. Best price 1,436. This is on normal difficulty, so best price for that 1,436 versus best price for barley 682. So a heck of a lot more. If we look at wheat next, best price for wheat 734. Dry wheat 1436. You will notice that dry barley and dry wheat have the same best price. Corn, best price for dry corn 1675. If we then go to corn, best price for corn 909. So again, a big increase in the best price. And then last but not least, oats 1159. Best price. Dry oats 1675. So nice boosts in their best price. Not quite so much, obviously, the oats and the corn compared to the barley and the wheat, but good returns and worth doing, if you ask me. Particularly this little guy. This thing could let you print money as long as you don't mind doing a tiny bit of forestry. Or if you find another way of getting logs easily. I've got this recollection of there being a mod that let you buy pallets of logs, but I don't know if I hallucinated that or not. Anyway, hopefully you found this little analysis interesting. If you like the mod, go rate it 5 stars. And yeah, I'll see you all next time.